Hey everyone, this is Telly.
And this is Garcia.
And we are the lovely ladies from HerCastleGirls. It's no secret that mental health is incredibly important. Back in the day, if anything was ever wrong with you, you had to keep it to yourself. Yeah. You were not allowed to go to work or go to a friend or go to anybody. You just had to keep it bottled in, and because of that, so many horrific things have happened to people because they had to hold it in. It was such a taboo thing to share out loud. But thank God, today we can truly say that the world has taken action to make sure that no one has to suffer alone anymore. Finally, people can express themselves, you can express how you're feeling, and no one should make fun of you or think differently about you because of what you're experiencing. So this month is October, obviously. And it's a really little snippet because if you're not aware, October 10th is World Mental Health Day. And that's a really little tidbit according to Google. So World Mental Health Day is observed on the 10th of October every year, with the overall objective of raising awareness of mental health issues around the world and mobilizing efforts in support of mental health. So although you see our smiling faces, because we're pretty happy people, I'm sure you guys would agree, but no matter how happy and positive someone is, there is always a side of you that still has that emptiness, that hurt inside that you can't even explain. And I feel honored to do this. I mean, my sister has been through a lot, but she's going to talk more about that than me. It's better to hear from her than from me, hear from the horse's mouth herself than hear it from me. But just to see my sister, she's a very strong woman, and I look up to her a lot. In case you guys didn't know too, yeah, we are sisters. Some people forget or don't know that, so now you know. We're sisters, in case you never knew that. But anyway, my sister has always been a huge influence on me, always. And something happened a while ago, a few years ago, that now she's totally fine with sharing, and she's been sharing and helping others to get through. So I'm just going to start the conversation. But let's start it in this context. Let's make it more kind of light and airy for our watchers. Mm-hmm. Persia Cassandra Campbell, let's talk about you before everything. How are you? How was your attitude on life? How was your day-to-day? How are you before you know what?
Before mental illness, I was a very carefree kid. I was, even today, if you were to ask me, what was your childhood like? I had a great childhood. Two loving parents that also love each other, ambitious. You know, we grew up in a great home. We had a great family support around us. And I was a very happy child. Right. But I was always a child that had that feeling that I could do everything and anything if I put my mind to it. Right. And little did I know that that seed was gonna grow and expand into something that would make me someone that would become clinically, depressed and have anxiety and all of these things that when it started happening, I didn't even know that's what it was. Right. That's great, because it leads me to my next question. As you're going up the ladder, as they say, and, like you were saying, you were a go-getter, you put your mind to something, you'd always get through it, no problem. When did you start realizing that something was a little off? So everything started for me, it truly happened in adulthood. Okay. I had just left school, I graduated from school, in journalism, and it was time to start my career. Right. And this was the first time I truly felt what rejection felt like. Right. There were a lot of no's, and you can't do this, you're never actually going to make it in that. Right. And all those dreams and all those aspirations, and the cheerful child that was very ambitious started to feel beat down. Yeah. And that was sort of the beginning of a lot of issues. I started to have issues with people liking me. You know, if someone walked into a room and said hi to someone and then not to me, I took it very hard.
Right.
So anxiety started to set in.
Yeah.
I was always an introverted kid growing up as well, which I think didn't help me. Because when you're an introvert, you're already feeling sort of beaten down when there are more than 10 people in a room.
True.
For all those introverts out there, you know what I'm talking about.
Yup.
So, you know, depression came at me in those ways.
Right.
And then a lot of things, my body started to react to it in ways, you know, for instance, like starting to see signs of alopecia here and there, starting to feel weighted down.
Right.
That's how it came at me, and that's where it started coming up. Yeah.
And it's funny too, because you mentioned, you know, rejection. Everyone handles rejection and you know, bad times in different ways.
Yeah.
Some people, they get hit with it and you give them a couple of days and they're like, okay, you know what? It is what it is. Next. But, you know, everyone's different in their own way. And I get you. Sometimes rejection can hurt. Even the littlest thing, you know, a little no can mean the whole world is just crumbling around you.
Yeah.
I know that I've had my share of anxiety. It sucks. So I can imagine, you know, other people that have to go through anxiety and just your nerves and everything's all over the place. But while you were going through these things, you kept it to yourself. I didn't know. Mom and Dad didn't know. Nobody knew. Because you're such a strong person, you just kept on keeping a strong exterior.
I'm very good at hiding.
Right.
My true feelings or how I am in the present moment. I've become very good at that.
Right.
Is it a good thing? Probably for the outward world, they would say that's a talent, but for me, it wasn't helping me.
No, because, you know, instead of talking out your emotions, especially, I mean, I hate saying this too, but with our people, you know, mental health, mental illness in the Black community, and it's up to this day, it's still something that's very... a bit of a stigma to talk about, but that's a whole nother video. We'll leave that for another time. Okay, so you're in this mental state where you feel alone, you're in this bubble, you don't know who to talk to, you don't know why you're feeling it. Well, you know why, but you don't know why it's growing to this bigger bubble, I guess you could say. When did you finally say to yourself, you know what? Like, first of all, how long did you go through this until you finally said, okay, that's it.
So I would say I went through 8 months of not wanting to get out of bed in the morning, 8 months of hiding the truth, 8 months of leaving work, getting into my car. At the time, I drove a white Cavalier.
Oh, yeah.
And I would sit in my car and get in there and just cry. And I would cry and I would cry. And then I would start the engine and then I would drive. And while I'm driving, you know, this is going to get dark, but I would, you know, think about ways in which I could get myself to feel better. And I started having thoughts that, you know, if I could just run this car into a cement wall and just kill myself, I would feel better. Because then it would stop. Right. So it was getting to a point where it was
starting to hurt you want to hurt yourself.
I wanted to hurt myself.
Yeah.
And it was almost like a fantasy, like in a way that we have fantasies of going on a, you know, Caribbean vacation.
Right.
I had a fantasy of just wanting to end my life.
Yeah.
And things were really not going well. At that time, I remember one night I went to a family thing with you and Mom.
Right.
And I was there and I was just shaking.
Right.
Like shaking from being around people. Because seeing other people happy actually made me feel worse.
Even worse. Because you want to know why can't you feel happy
that way. And I was not looking good. I had lost a lot of weight. I was not taking care of myself. And I remember the night we were driving home from that event and I was looking out the window and you guys were having a full-on conversation and then I just blurted out, guys, I need to talk to someone. I need help.
Right.
And that's where, you know, that was the first time anyone of you knew.
Because we were like, help with what? We didn't know what you were talking about because, like she said, she always had a smile on her face. She was always very happy. She was always, just she stuck to the script, basically. So when you explained to us what was going on and that you wanted to see, like, a professional to help, get you through this, at first we were like, oh my God, we were all in shock. We thought, oh my God, is it something that we did? Is it something that happened to you? Did someone put this on you? Like, did someone bring you some news that wasn't right? And everything you can think of, we were trying to figure out, but you kept on assuring us that it wasn't us that made you feel the way you were feeling. So our family doctor got you in to see someone. What was that experience like?
So I saw a psychiatrist for the first time in my life, and it was interesting because I walked in and started talking and just talked about everything. And John was his name. He was very I feel that he was sympathetic because here's this young girl that should be excited about a new chapter in her life, and I was not excited about it. I was ready to end it. And he asked a lot of questions about how I grew up and, what my childhood was like and, how I was as a child.
Right.
And he asked me about hobbies and things. And it was at that time I even forgot, it's like, wow, you know what? I sing, but I haven't sung since this whole thing. Yeah, I haven't played the piano. I haven't written a song. I haven't done anything artistic at all since, that part of me was just did not exist at that time anymore. And it was through chatting with him that I was determined to get over this and try to find the old, Cursia back. Right. And trying to get out there, the first thing I remember where I started to understand what was going on and what I needed to do was, and I shared this story with our friend Maddie, who wrote an article in Flair magazine.
Right, yes, we're going to talk about that too. Hold on.
About a Duran Duran concert. Right. And, going to a place where everyone is exceptionally happy. Right. And just so happy to be singing along to all these great retro 80s songs that we all grew up with. Yeah. And I was there like, I don't want to be here. This sucks. Yeah. Why is everyone so happy? And then during a song, I just started tearing up. And I was like, this reminds me of those good old days that I would sit in the back of Mom's Oldsmobile as she was like driving downtown. And that was the beginning of the very tip-top beginning of remembering what it was like to be okay. Right.
And I mean, with mental health and especially when you're chronic depressed, when you're in, you know what I mean? But, people think that there's like a magic pill you take and that's it. You're fixed to snap of the fingers and that's it. You're back to normal. No. But it's not. It unfortunately, it is a journey and it's a long, hard journey. It's not one that you can just get over just like that so quickly. But it is something that if you decide within yourself that I am going to be able to control it enough. What are some things that you've been able to do? Because, I mean, unfortunately, sometimes things conjure up old emotions. This is just like an old boyfriend or something. Just little triggers go off and you're just like, I want to slap that. Then you know what. Anyway, what kind of things do you do to, kind of pull yourself back to say, nope, I'm not going down that hole again. Been there, done that. We're moving on. What kind of tips do you have that you could share with us?
Well, I think the first thing is, and I know if you're on Instagram and if you're following a lot of, like wellness thought leaders and therapists, which I do, you'll know all about boundaries. And that's one thing that I've done for myself. If I'm at a place, even about a week or two, I sent you a text. Yes. I was anxious. Yeah. I was at a party.
I told you to leave.
And I was like, I have to leave. I can't stay here. This sucks. Like, and I was just like shaking. I started tearing up. And you've got to set boundaries for yourself. If you're someplace, you know, I was at this party and I stayed for 45 minutes and I left.
And that's fair.
Because I just didn't feel good there.
That's it.
And I think that's the first thing. I think another thing is setting affirmations for yourself and reminding yourself that you're worth something and that your life is valued and that you're loved.
Absolutely.
And I think another thing is don't be afraid to share your story with people that you trust.
That's a big one.
Because they will be able to ask you, are you okay?
That's it. And what you said right there, are you okay? You know, don't be afraid to ask. And even if the person keeps on saying, oh no, I'm fine, everything's fine, you know, because even with you, although you did have this, you know, I'm good, I'm fine. Deep down, you know, it's a sister thing. It's a family thing. Or let's say your best friend or your boyfriend, your husband, your girlfriend, your wife, whatever. You know when something is off. Because that person, although they're still showing signs of being okay, there's still some things where you're looking at them and you're like, you know what? And you might be okay, but there's still something a little kind of off. But just keep on letting that person know that you are there and that they feel safe. Because that's another thing too. A lot of people who are going through so many things, they want to talk, but then they're like, oh my gosh, if I tell so-and-so, is he or she going to go and tell Lou?
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, the whole office or the whole school or your whole family knows, and you only want to confide in one person.
Yeah.
So I guess you have to just find that bravery, which can be hard.
It's hard. It's hard. I mean, there were other things that I've done, and I still continue to this day. You know, I meditate. I try to practice yoga as often as possible and really be in touch with myself spiritually as well.
Right.
And spiritually can mean different things to different people.
Right.
Depending, you know, whatever your religion might be or whatever you practice. But I do feel that having a strong spiritual connection
definitely
also helps with getting by and being able to be in tune with your feelings.
I agree with that. That's so true. And because you were able to overcome to an extent where you can, you know, control the sadness and the depression, a lot of people have reached out to you to help them through their journey of getting well again and getting, which brings us back to the article that we were talking about not too long ago. If you could shed some more light on that.
Well, Maddie is an amazing freelance writer, and she was writing an article on music and music therapy. She is also practicing that, and she wanted to understand the importance of music to kind of mindfulness and healing. And my story is probably one of many where music was able to bring someone to a place. But, you know, it's funny when people ask, they're like, you know, so what saved you? What helped you? And I'm like, this sounds crazy, but Duran Duran's music saved my life because I was ready to finish it. And the only thing that kept me going was knowing how, first of all, my family would be so sad.
Definitely.
That I did that. And I don't want my parents and my sisters to feel that deep, dark sadness because of something that I did to myself. So that's the one thing that kept on stopping me. But the one thing that made me feel like it's okay to feel was music. And once I started treating myself, once I started figuring out what the boundaries were and what I needed to do to help myself, I started listening to music again. When I felt sad, I was like, if I feel sad, I'm going to listen to sad music.
That's it.
If I feel happy, I'm going to listen to happy music. And I'm going to become grateful. I'm going to do, when I take my time to meditate, it's going to be all about how grateful I am to be alive and to be healthy. So, you know, these sort of things kind of led to, and me sharing my story through Instagram and stuff led to Maddie and I chatting over the phone. And, it was an honor to be able to share my story, and I hope that it helped some people. I hope
I'm sure it did.
I hope Duran Duran heard about it.
I hope so too. Because that was some free tickets.
But on a serious note,
right.
I think that's what people need to do, and that's what awareness is about. Awareness
That's
is
it.
about saying, hey, you know what? There was a time in my life where I went through a horrible situation with a loved one, or with, you know, a partner or whomever, and I was sad about this.
That's
it
right.
made me feel this way. And, you know, we're privileged to be in a time where we understand mental health, we understand that certain things make people sad.
Yes.
And make them feel down, and we need to be here as a supportive society.
That's right.
To help them get back on their feet.
That's it, absolutely. And you shouldn't no one should pass judgment, because you don't know what that other person's going through.
That's it.
They could have had a really rough day. They could have lost a loved one. So much things happen to, like, as human beings, we go through so much crap that, you know, if you see someone crying their eyes out in the washroom, let them cry in peace, because they're letting out an emotion that needs to be expressed. And too long have we all been holding in ourselves, saying, okay, well, I'm just going to keep this to myself like a genie in a bottle and not say anything, and just have this thing bubble up until it explodes into a horrific mess. But being that it is mental health awareness month or day on the 10th, I really do hope that people, not only for the day or for the month, but really check on your friends, your family, and yourself too. You know, ask yourself the questions. Okay, I mean, be realistic with yourself. Am I okay? And even if someone asks you, you know, it's a habit to say, hey, Carson, what's up? Oh, I'm good. And you know deep down that you're not good. You don't have to say, you can actually really think and say, well, hold on, am I good? You know what, to be honest, I'm feeling a little low today. I don't know if I'm just tired or if I'm hungry, who knows. But it's always good to just express yourself, and express yourself in truth. Don't hide things in, because it's just going to...
It'll get worse.
It'll only get worse. It's like planting a bad seed. Right. So, you know, that's just my little tidbit on it. But anyway, I want to thank you so much, Car, for sharing your story, and for sharing that you're overcoming. Is that a word? Overcoming?
Overcoming is a word.
It's a word now. So thank you for sharing your overcoming. And yeah, guys, you know, my sister and others that have overcame this and are still battling, you know, be nice to people. Stop being such a brute. Stop being such a jerk or a wretch. You know, we're all going through something called life, and it can be a pain in the butt. So the least we can all do as a society is be kind to one another and take your time with people. Because like I said, you do not know what the other person is going through. And with that, that's it, girl. I'm good. She's good. Clearly, she's good.
No, thank you so much.
She looks fabulous. Huh?
I thought, you know, we're doing this video. Let me dress like I'm a pimp. So
you know it's hot out here for a pimp.
Animal print.
Thanks, guys, and once again, subscribe,
and like.
We're so likable. In the comments, we want to know, what do you guys do when everyone has a bad day? Everyone has something, like a bad breakup, a bad day, a bad experience. Some experiences worse than others, but let us know, let others know. What do you do to get over it? What do you do to kind of, conquer? What do you do to kind of heal the wounds gently? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much, guys. Don't forget, hit us up on Instagram, hit us up on Twitter. On Instagram, it's much easier, at HerCastleGirl. Thanks so much, guys.